Hey, it's Scott once again with great resources for coaches, and I'm in a little bit of a different setting than I've been in lately. Sorry, it's not the pristine nature that I've been coming to you from in the last few weeks. This is the office that we've been working on setting up here in my home, and finally have been able to move in. We did a lot of rearranging of a variety of things, and we're still in the process. Our house is kind of a mess, but this room got set up so that I can do a lot more of my work in here a lot easier. So anyway, that's the setting that I'm in here. It's not complete, but so sorry for maybe some of the distractions behind me, but that's okay. There'll be, who knows what'll be the next time. Today I want to take a couple minutes to talk a little bit about kind of a follow-up to what I talked about a few weeks ago, and that was summer improvement. And I talked about the concept how, we ask our kids to put in the time in the summer or in your off season, depending upon what sport you coach. We want our kids to be, putting in the skill development time and getting in their reps, and then also playing in contests, sometimes with us, but maybe on other teams. In other words, we want them to be putting in that effort. And I talked about the key is, though, that we as coaches are doing the same thing. We need to make sure that we're also working to improve in the summer. Well, today I want to focus on one aspect of that, and that's reading. A few years ago, 2 years ago now, I believe it is, I wrote a post called "I Just Don't Read." And my point in there was that I've known my share of coaches who, we'll be talking about a topic, whatever it might be, and I'll say, "Have you read whatever book?" or "You got to read whatever book it is," and I've gotten a look from them, sometimes the actual words being said, "Scott, I just don't read all that much." And I get that. I understand that some people aren't into reading, or they don't feel they have the time to read, or whatever it might be. But I've also loved the quote that I've heard from a lot of leadership gurus, and that is, leaders are readers. You have to be putting in some time to your development, and some of that time is going to be reading. But then the last couple of years, I've also advanced that a little bit even further to say, you don't even have to read. I don't know if that makes sense, but you don't have to actually read words on paper anymore. Because with the advent and the proliferation of audiobooks and podcasts and other YouTube, there's all kinds of ways to get the written message that other people have in a different format. And so audiobooks is the one that I'm really focused on, and maybe podcasts as well, but most podcast episodes are not necessarily a written work that somebody is just reading. Most of those are conversational or interview or however you might put it. Whereas an audiobook is just the version of a book that instead of reading it, you listen to it. And this is a great way for those of you who aren't all that into reading or don't have the time, you don't think, or can't make the time to read, to still be able to read by listening, to it on an iPod or your iPhone or whatever it might be, whatever the format is. So my point is that this is a great way for coaches, leaders, to be able to do their reading that they need to do in order to improve. Again, we want our kids to improve. We need to as well. And there's a variety of ways that I mentioned in that video a few weeks ago. But the focus today is reading. So figure out what authors, what titles, what topics you would be most into, and that might best help you advance in the ways that you realize this is something I need to work on this summer or this year. And find those authors, find what they're writing, find those titles, and get a copy, whether it's in written form or in audiobook form. But help yourself to help your kids by reading as many new and interesting topics and concepts and ideas as you can. To help you with that, this Friday's written post is going to be some of my suggestions for summer reading. I generally do this each year. I do a suggested summer reading list. So I'm doing that again this Friday in the written post. So make sure you check that out. And some of them will be the same ones I had on the last year. I was going to completely replace all of them, and I'm going down the list going, there's too many good books on here. I'm not going to replace these. So I've taken a few off. I'm changing and I'm adding a few in that, but you'll see some from last year. But I also know that there's a lot of new subscribers, a lot of new people in the Great Resources for Coaches community now who weren't here last year. So you won't have seen last year's. So anyway, this Friday, check out the summer reading list that I'm going to have for you. But no matter what books or you choose to read, make sure you're reading and make sure you're working on helping yourself become your best so that you can help your kids become your best. Reading is one of the best ways to be able to do that. So hope you'll check that post out on Friday, and I'll talk to you again next week.